Hello everyone, this is Remleiz from 40k Theories, and welcome to this newest episode of Adeptus Podcastus. Joining me as always is Tactica Imperialis.
Hello everyone.
And joining us as our special returning guest this week, someone whose voice was very sorely missed judging by the comments in my newest video. You may know him as Rogal Dorn, you may know him as Dorn, or Dor even, but to us he will simply be known as either Superanchors or Admiral Burke. Take your pick.
Greetings, everyone. It's once again a massive pleasure to see every single one of you. And I once again welcome you to another episode of the Podcastus.
I still find it so disconcerting about the ease in which that voice slips in. It's weird. Every single time you do the intro, you're talking normally, then we do the intro and you just slip into that voice, and it always throws me off.
It's called acting.
I know it's called acting, I'm aware of that, but it always throws me off. It just shows how effective it is and how, well, recognisable it is.
If Games Workshop had crawled out of the muck and given me a voice contract for an audiobook, that would have... I can't describe how funny I would have found that.
Well, there is a book with Dawn in it, but we'll get to that later if we get some time.
Though, speaking of books, there is something I do want to say, if people haven't already noticed. So you know that Echoes of Eternity has just been released on Special Edition and in standard release as well?
Book 7, yeah.
Well, in the acknowledgements and thank you section, who got thanked? Alpha Booster.
Really?
He got thanked in Echoes of Eternity, yeah?
Hey.
Yeah. Alpha's been, from what I remember, for the past couple of years, he's been talking to... It was ADB, right?
It was ADB, yeah.
Okay, he's been talking to ADB, and I think that they've become pretty good friends, or at least very close. At least, if not in a personal sense, at least in a professional sense. I know that. And no, it's just been really interesting to see that kind of relationship bloom from the sort of the end or ass end part of TTS, and now blooming into like an actual friendship. Yeah, it's just kind of weird to think that, growing up, you go from reading Warhammer 40k novels to voicing in a big project series that's connected to the actual writers. Well, maybe not me directly. That'd be kind of presumptuous of me to say, yeah, I can reach out and talk to anybody. But if I could, I would talk to, I think his name it's John French, right?
Mm.
The Imperial Fist guy. He does all the Dorn and Imperial Fist books for the Heresy.
Well, except for this newest one, but we'll get to that later.
We will.
Yeah.
But yeah, the exact quote, the exact passage in Echoes of Eternity is, "Thanks to Alpha Booster for his insight and emotional support. Dude, you're lovely. I owe you." So, yeah, Alpha is canon confirmed.
And Alpha is good egg confirmed. Which we all knew. Everyone who knows him knows that, but, worth saying.
He is the Poultrymancer, after all, so. Yes, we will always remember that.
Oh, that's terrible.
But not as terrible as what Frederick Knudsen said, but we won't go into that.
No,
so
we
in
won't.
the news this week...
Yeah, right. So the big news this week was the fact that the Nova Open took place. It was about a week ago from the time of which we're recording this episode. And there were a wide range of things across a wide range of games. The place, I think, since we're talking about Echoes of Eternity and all that I would like to start is with the latest Primarch miniature, Horus Ascended.
Yeah, this was a bit of a surprise, really, I'll be honest.
I'm not mad that they've done it. I think it's very good that they've done it, because when you're doing diorama or depictions of Horus versus the Emperor, whenever they get round to doing the Emperor's model, then having it be super noble pre-heresy Horus would look a little bit odd. So I'm not opposed to them doing it, and I will say they've done a fantastic job. But yes, it definitely came out of nowhere.
Yeah, all things considered, I don't think he has enough skeletons on his base, though.
I mean, there's got to be at least 20.
Yeah, this is 40k, he needs at least 60.
Quite possibly.
But apparently all the Primarchs are going to get new models, from what it implies here.
It says, what does it say? There's a new character series from Forge World representing each of the Primarchs at the height of the heresy. So I'm guessing there's going to be no model for Ferrus Manus because, well, he didn't really get a height in the heresy. He just had some height chopped off the top.
He'll come as an accessory for like...
Damn.
He'll just come as a head.
But no, I'm not opposed to them doing this because getting to see like slightly twisted Magnus, a crazed Vulcan, that conflicted Jagatai and Sanguinius, battered, broken, but not backing down like he is in the Siege of Terra, could be really, really cool to see.
Oh, would that mean that Jagatai is actually going to get his bike?
That would be nice. Can we give Jagatai a bike? Yes.
Or a jet bike?
No, just give him the move profile of a bike.
He gotta go fast.
Yeah, Jagatai can actually just run as fast as most Marines can motorcycle.
Yeah.
Janek the Hedgehog.
I admit the one thing that this does sort of sting, it does sting a bit to those of us, or those of the community who are avid fans of the Primarchs and have built a whole legion for heresy, that they're now being offered an alternative model for their Primarch that they never knew they were going to get, that might much better suit where their legion is at, particularly for traitor legions, who've had their legion led by the Primarchs or pre-heresy or at their height Great Crusade, start of the heresy, to now have a new version, particularly like Demon Prince Angron would be a classic example. You've now got a different model that you need to get. And given how expensive a Primarch miniature is and how much work it takes to create them and paint them well, it might be like a bit of a kick in the teeth for those people. You've sort of got to look at both sides of the argument. I'm not saying I'm against them having alternate models, but the one thing I will say is they should not have alternate rules where possible, because otherwise you're forcing people to buy £100 worth of models twice.
I think the only ones who should have alternate rules are like if they actually include rules for like the Demon Primarchs. Because that's to be expected, really. Like it's a brand new form for them, so new rules are to be expected. Like Fulgrim gets wings, for instance, so give him rules to fly, for instance, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, just slap I'm going to take my Angron model, just slap a fresh coat of red paint on him and call it a day.
Or just use the new Angron model that they revealed.
Nah. Who's going to know the difference?
But no, I do hope that the Demon Angron they've revealed for the World Eaters Codex that got leaked is able to be used in Heresy, because it would just suit and would just save people having to buy it twice.
Which does make me wonder, are we going to get a Demon Fulgrim model for Heresy, considering he was the first one to become a Demon Prince?
If we get Demon Angron, we should get Demon Fulgrim. Absolutely. I just don't know, because it does say at the height of the Heresy. So I'm assuming that's the Siege of Terra, or the place, or something, or the nearest point to it's possible.
Well, remember that, Fulgrim became a demon very early on during the Heresy. It wasn't too long after, the events of Istvan V, was it?
No.
Because it was Istvan V after, and then he and Perturaba fucked off into the Eye of Terror to get something, and then Fulgrim tried to kill Pert, and Pert was like, okay, fuck you too, and then it ended up with Fulgrim becoming a demon prince.
Yeah, that's pretty much how Angel Exterminatus goes. But yeah, I don't know, but I think Demon Fulgrim, Demon Pert, and Demon Magnus, I don't know about Mortal...
Demon Pert?
No, sorry, Demon Angron.
I was going to say, what?
Wait, yeah, I know, I said a stupid thing. Demon Angron, Demon Fulgrim, Demon Magnus, maybe Demon Mortarion. Obviously not Lorgar, obviously not Perturabo, Kurz never did. So I'm not sure what they'll do, but I think Demon Princes for some of them, certainly.
And moving away from Horus Heresy to, well, we were speaking about Angron briefly, and they revealed the new Khorne Berserkers. Yes,
we'd seen one model a couple of weeks ago, but now they have revealed the whole kit, and they definitely look impressive. They've also done a separate article with a look at some of the parts that are going to be coming out with the Worldies. We get a bit of a closer look at some of the chain axes, the helms, things like that. Overall, I think they've done a really good job with them.
Brand new chain fist as well, wasn't there? That was revealed.
Yes, that was in the article there. They've also got proper two-handed chain axes as well. I don't know what their official name would be. They're kind of like the Sisters the Sister Battle Repentia's Eviscerators, but obviously much bigger, or like Gabriel Seth's Mega Chain Axe. But
Which is also called an Eviscerator as well, isn't it?
I think so. What's its name? I know he called it Storm's Teeth, but that's Dawn's. What's its name? I can't remember. But yes.
Terry. Sorry.
No, but they have
Terrence
to...
the World Eater?
Say again, sorry?
I said Terrence the World Eater?
Oh, dear.
Yes, Terrence the World Eater, yeah.
But they...
I mean, is it any worse than Wally the Wanderer?
Oh my god. Is Terrence the World Eater the only World Eater who wields a two-handed axe?
He is now.
Excellent.
What else was revealed?
So, staying with 40k, since we're there, they gave a full range reveal for the Leagues of Votann. We'd already seen a bunch of stuff up to now, but they then just dropped about 17 different units on us, all in one go. So I'll take them one by one. So the first one was their sort of main battle tank, the Hecaton Land Fortress, that's its name, which is a heavy support with a transport capacity of 12 and more guns than you can shake a stick at.
It looks like the turtle van.
I'm sorry, the wheels look like... Those are just leftover wheels.
They're the wrong... So the whole balance of the wheels looks wrong. I'll agree with you on that.
It reminds me of a Tonka toy.
Well, I saw a few people did meme it by changing the colour scheme. I think someone did do like a turtle vehicle paint job on it.
Nice.
The next one was a named character, Uthar the Destined, who comes with 2 helm options, one with a very, very scarred head and one with a helmet, as well as 2 different weapon options. Seemingly he comes with a power fist type option or the Blade of the Ancestors.
See, I like with this little back banner, it's got a little like bear iconography as opposed to wolves or something like that. But, yeah, I love how it's actually bears.
Yeah, I don't know if this is built out of the same kit, actually, as the Carl, the HQ option. I think this might just be an alternate build of the Carl kit, the more I look at it.
I'm sure we'll find out when it's released.
Indeed. Next was I'm going to butcher this, the Einherjar. The Einherjar champion, who sort of has the exo armor as their main stuff. So I'm guessing this is sort of your Primaris Lieutenant type hero, sort of a sub-hero who will go around being a buffer and smasher.
Some kind of champion anyway, as implied by the name.
Yeah. We get their Tech Marine equivalent, the Brokir Ironmaster, complete with Ironkin and ECOGs, which are repair drones, which are just like assumedly drone servitors without the fleshy bits. And then we got a Psyker. The Psyker is called a Grimnir, spelled with a Y.
Is that not his name?
No.
Is it a named character?
No, they're not. It says the primary conduits between Kin and Votann are the Grimnir. Kin blessed with psychic powers from a rare and important clone skein. So these...
And they are confirmed being living ancestors, which I did mention in a previous episode.
You did. Living ancestors. They're the closest thing you find to priests and use barrier technology to harness the warp. This includes the 2 CORVs, the Corvs. So maybe they're like familiars, but familiars armed with heavy bolters.
I just love the fact he's got a very stereotypical wizard look.
Oh yeah, like if you put like that AI image generator thing and you said dwarf wizard, you'd probably get something like that.
Yeah.
The next one is for the Cathonians. We'd seen the Cathonians as the sort of berserker melee troops, but they've also done a berserk mole grenade launcher, which is one of the weirdest models I've ever seen, because rather than it being the grenade launcher and then a separate model for the ammo Ironkin who's carrying their mess of axe, they're on one base. You don't see that very often when doing models like this. They're normally on 2 bases.
I've just noticed he's carrying a hip flask from the axe handle.
Oh, and that too. Oh dear.
He's got booze. That little robot's got booze. Good on him.
Absolutely.
Look at him go.
He thinks he's people.
He thinks he's people. Well, he was people.
I don't think the Ironkin ever were people.
Yeah, they're AI, aren't they?
I thought they were just AI.
I thought they were neural scans of their old people.
We'll find out one way or another when the codex drops, I'm sure.
I feel like we have...
Oh, I don't trust the codex, Mick. Come on, really?
I feel that we do have that piece of information. I just can't remember what the answer is. But if you want that codex, then you might want to draw your attention to their upcoming starter box army set, which of course comes with the codex and allows you to build a Karl or Uthar the Destined. So that's confirmation they are the same kit. An Einhir champion, 3 pioneers, the jet buggies, and 20 of the Hearthkin warriors. So you get 2 troops, 1 HQ, a sub HQ/elite, and then a fast attack unit. Plus, of course, the exclusive limited edition codex is in there, and that's the first place you will be able to get it. Now, we know...
Because of course it is.
It is indeed. That is stupid. It's got the same cover, just without the Warhammer 40,000 logo on it. We also got the roadmap for codices. We know demons are out. Squats will be this autumn. We are now in autumn because, of course, it is September. And then in the winter, so come around Christmas, New Year, you will get the Astra Militarum Codex and the World Eaters Codex as well.
It's still weird to me that the Imperial Guards basically waited this long to get a codex.
Oh yeah, given the fact that the edition is probably going to be updated next year, if we're following the typical pattern anyway, it usually goes 40k gets an edition, AOS gets an edition the following year, and now Heresy is the 3rd year. We are now due, if everything follows the same rotation and nothing has been adjusted for COVID, then July 2023 will be 10th edition. So the Astra Militarum Codex will be up to date for about 6 months.
If that.
Of course, this assumes that COVID hasn't dragged everything else back, because it might have done, but we can't know that for sure, and we'll find out next year. And that covers all of the 40k side of Nova, but they were far from done. Age of Sigmar got 3 new reveals linking to its roadmap for the rest of the year. Because we're only getting one thing for 40k in terms of codices, we're getting 2 battle tomes, the Ogre tribes and the Sons of Behemat, the Mega Gargants. And both of those got a new model reveal. The Ogres got someone called the Blood Pelt Hunter, who is armed with a massive crossbow, bolt thrower type thing, which is a really nice model, to be fair. It's very, very detailed, but I do really like it.
I like the fact he's using a dragon head for a quiver for the arrows.
Absolutely.
Or bolts, rather.
And for the Mega Gargants, we got King Brod, which is a name that means nothing to probably most people. But King Brod was a named character from the Realmgate Wars books right at the start of AOS 1. So what they're doing is an expansion kit to the Mega Gargant kit, which, oh god, great. That's going to make that kit even more expensive, which will allow you to make this chaos-aligned variant with little creepers who braid their beards and stuff, and this massive hammer, the unique helm, and all of that stuff. So those models will be coming out sometime in the next month or 2 with a new Ogres book and a new Gargants book. And finally, in the winter of this year is alongside the Astra Militarum and the World Eaters, is Slaves to Darkness, which is the equivalent to Warriors of Chaos for those of you who still haven't caught up from Speaking Fantasy. They are getting a starter box of their own, which contains the new Demon Prince kit, 10 Chosen, we hadn't seen before, I don't think, the Chosen, as well as 3 of the Ogroid Theridons, which I think we had seen previously revealed, but either way, they look really, really good. So it's a very elite box for Slaves to Darkness, as opposed to something like the Squats box, which is a lot of very baseline stuff. This is a very elite box for a different style of gameplay, because Slaves to Darkness came out towards the end of AOS 2 and have had a lot of new models done in that time, which will allow people to get the Chaos Warriors and all of that sort of thing.
I like the fact that the new Demon Prince model actually has options for like different aligned heads. So you got like a Khornate head, a Nurgle head, a Tzeentch head, and a Slaanesh head.
Yeah, absolutely. It's nice to have that clearly spelled out rather than just being in the paint job. And bear in mind, this kit is compatible with 40k, and there are a huge amount of like armor pieces that are different for the 40k variant when they revealed it. So the 40k variant has actual power armor and things like that, and therefore comes with more options than you might be used to in the Demon Prince kit. The Demon Prince kit was already really detailed, had a huge amount of options built into it, but even better, more options, and that's great. Gotta be honest, I'm really getting tempted to get some Slaves to Darkness. I won't, because budgets and things like that, no, at least not without selling up another project. But the models that they've done for them over the past couple of editions, the Chaos Warriors, the Varan Guard, these new Chosen look really good. The Demon Prince, and another model, which we can get onto in a bit, I might jump to that next actually, really sets up the Slaves to Darkness as a faction that a lot of people might want to collect. And if you're a fan of old fantasy, there's plenty here for you. So choice is yours if you want to go that way. I'm certainly sorely tempted, even though I'm probably not going to. Right, there's an awkward pause here because I can't do this on my own. So apologies.
So sorry.
No, sorry. It's just, I didn't know if you were finished back from your coffee, and I know Rem's gone to deal with his dog, so I didn't know if it was just me sat here.
No, I have my coffee right here. Sorry if everybody, if you're listening in, for those listening in, I woke up when we were supposed to start the actual podcast, and I kind of crawled out of bed like some sort of disheveled creature and skittered my way to the kitchen to make myself the brown liquid of awakening, the potion of awakening.
Yeah, that's fair enough. It was so we're recording this on the Saturday rather than the Friday, which we normally do. So it has been a slight change to timings, but oh well, it's fine.
Yeah, sorry about that again.
No, you're all right. I think where I want to go, there's one more thing at Nova. It's just a little warband of Khorne models, which I can come back to in a minute. While we're on Slaves to Darkness, I will do this last model because it's a really cool model. It got leaked, actually, a couple of weeks ago from the Slaves to Darkness leaks. And it's a model called Eternus, which is a new named character that Chaos Warriors are getting.
All right, hold up. Like, hit the frickin' brakes on this one, man. That is straight up an Iron Warrior on a horse.
The paint scheme certainly matches, I'll give you that.
That is straight up just an Iron Warrior on some sort of not horse.
Yeah, because it's mostly a horse, but it's got claws and like a dragon tail type thing. So, and a unicorn horn.
Is that a, whatchamacallit? Oh, God. God, I'm blanking on the name. It's not a... Begins with an M.
It's not a manticore that has wings.
Yeah, it is a I was thinking of a manticore.
Yeah, the Chaos Manticores that they have in 40k, in Fantasy, were lion head and wings, and were a lot bigger. There is a kit for it, the Chaos Lord and Chaos Sorcerer on Manticore, which is still legal. In fact, I think it was in a starter box, Start Collecting or a Combat Patrol at one point, if memory serves anyway. But I think what they've done with this model is they've really very much based it on a different model. Vanus Hammerhand, the sort of named character from the Stormcast Eternals in their very first box game. Because Eternus is kind of a Chaos Stormcast. What I mean by that is, like a Stormcast, he can't die. Because what was going on, and this is going to need a little bit of lore, during the, it's not called Gathering Storm, Broken Realms arc, Be'lakor, who you may remember from the big shiny model that I think won Model of the Year last year, created a new spell called the Cursed Skies, which is going on all over the place. And what the Cursed Skies did was trap the souls of Stormcast who were trying to go back to Azir to be remade like they're supposed to do. Now, the Stormcast responded to that with the new Thunderstrike armor made by Grony. But what Be'lakor did was he took one of the Varangard, so the elite champions of Archaon, and one of them renounced Archaon for Be'lakor. So what Be'lakor did was chuck this guy into the Cursed Skies and burned alive by Stormcast souls, and then had his soul imbued with Stormcast souls by Be'lakor. So now he's immortal, and every time he dies, he just appears again in a bolt of black lightning. Basically, it's like a Chaos Stormcast, which is a really, really cool rule. I really like that in terms of the background.
Mm-hmm. How do I put this? I the Stormcast lore has kind of fascinated me, and with the whole thing with 40k, I did look at fantasy a lot more seriously, and the Caradon Overlords really drew me in, but also the Stormcast lore really drew me in too. At first, I considered them kind of. It almost feels like Games Workshop kind of fumbled really badly with the start of Age of Sigmar, though they tried really, really, really hard to undo that fumble by putting some really good lore in there. Like, I really like the lore now.
Oh, yeah. They absolutely fumbled the start because the Stormcast were generic. Everyone just called them Ground Marines, and they had no personality, no lore. There was no lore for anything. And GW has spent the last 2 editions just gradually pulling them away from being generic warriors in armor to make them human again, with their own quirks and flaws and magical failings and all this going on. They've done a great job of rebranding the Stormcast.
Oh, sorry, give me 1 second. Someone's at my door.
It's all right.
No worries.
I will say, just before I move on from Eternus, as much as the Stormcast can be reborn and stuff, he can be reborn mid-game. So if he dies, you roll a 2d6, and if you roll 8 or more, he teleports back onto the board at full health. So that is going to be a right pain for some people to deal with, depending on just how chunky he is, which, given he's a Chaos Lord and ex-Varangard, he's going to be very chunky indeed.
Yeah.
But yes, really cool model, and again, makes me want to play Slaves to Darkness even more. Though I'd probably have to choose my side between Archaon and Be'lakor at this point. We had seen the Theridons from Warhammer Fest now, I remember. So yeah, lots going on for Age of Sigmar, which is all really, really good. Looking forward to seeing all that. The last thing from Nova was we got a look at the next Underworlds warband. We'd seen one of them. Do you remember the fat flaming skull guy from last episode?
Oh, yeah. That bug guy, yeah.
Yeah. They've now revealed the whole warband for them going into Underworld. So you've got him, a guy turning into a Korgorath, and a priest character, a slaughter priest of some kind. And I cannot put my finger on who he reminds me of. I kind of get Mola Ram from Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom vibes, but also no, I don't. It's weird.
Kalima.
Quite so. Which would be, to be fair, that's not a bad reference given that was a blood cult. So
I imagine that was part of the reference, if I had to guess, if there was a reference.
Yeah. So that's the Gore Chosen of Drom. That's their official name. So yeah, that's Nova. A lot happened. A lot of miniatures got revealed. Admittedly, it kind of passed me by a little bit on the day because I had to go to work. But I think model of the day had to go to Horus Ascended because, well, if it went to anything else, then someone really fumbled in the design team. But I've got to be honest, coming back to them, I'm not that fussed for getting a Votan army. The squat models just don't appeal to me at all.
Well,
it might just be me.
Better railguns.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you got just straight up better railguns.
But yeah, the aesthetic just... Maybe it's just because it's so round in places and square and blocky in others. It just doesn't sit right with me. They're fine models, but I'm not going to collect them, that's for sure.
That's fair enough. Going back to Horus Heresy briefly, they revealed a new assassin model, and it's for a brand new clade who we've not actually had on the tabletop before, the Vanus Assassin.
Indeed. I'm really glad that we're actually getting to see a Vanus Assassin, because having read Assassinorum Kingmaker not that long ago, I didn't really have a frame of reference in my head for what a Vanus Assassin might look like or what equipment they might use. So I'm really glad they've done this.
Now, for those who might not be aware, the Vanus Assassin is basically the hacker man of the group, essentially.
Yeah, pretty much. And what they do in games, they say they have the keys to friendly and enemy weapon systems. Info sites can, and I quote, intercept newcomers with a barrage from their own allies' weapons, which I assume is allowing you to shoot your opponent's like deep striking or reserve units with one of their units, which is hilarious. And they can even hack and wreak havoc on automata. So I think they'll be quite good against Mechanicum armies and things like that.
Just don't touch my Vorax.
Yeah, that's more than fair. That's the only real heresy reveal from the last week.
Not really, no, because they revealed the last book of the Siege of Terra is not the last because they're splitting it into two.
Yes, well done. Boo forever.
Yeah, so the final book of the Siege is called The End and the Death, and it's being split into 2 volumes because money, I imagine. In fairness, though, we did get some very nice artwork for it with an absolutely gigantic version of the Emperor with a teeny tiny Malcador standing next to him on the Golden Throne.
Yeah, it's a really cool piece of artwork, but I do wonder if as much as I know that proportioning will have been intentional, it just seems odd. It's not that Malcador's tiny, it's that because the other humans walking up the steps and the custodians are in shot as well. But the Emperor appears to be like having the custodians up to his knee, which is just weird.
Well, basically, it's Kaiju-pura.
Yeah, isn't the Emperor's whole thing is that he uses his psychic might to project to everybody around him what he looks like? He can make himself just bigger or more normal sized with just his massive psychic powers.
It's basically like an illusion, yeah.
Yeah. It's essentially an illusion. However, if he kicks you with that illusion, you're going to get your chest caved in.
I think
which leads to a whole bunch of memes saying like, how did the Emperor lose to Horus when he's the size of a kaiju?
Yeah, pretty much. I really do like in the artwork as well that we can see both just how immense the Golden Throne's power is. Like, look at all that cabling and all that lightning, both going into powering it and out of the Emperor. And also, I assume the fact that we've got such a range of colours sort of links that psychic power and the fact that that's powering like the Astronomicon and things like that. I really like the thematic of it. It's just giant Emperor that always just throws me a little bit.
Gigantpura.
And the thing is, he's still.
Oh no! What was that old that really old but poorly dubbed anime? Gigantor. That was it, wasn't it?
No idea.
Gigantor. Someone's going to remember that in the comments. I know that for a fact.
I'm sure somebody will. I've got to be honest. I don't. Sorry.
That's before your time. Before you were born.
Yep.
Probably before Burke was born as well.
Yeah, I think you're younger than me, to be honest.
I'm 29.
Oh, no, never mind. You were talking about doing your masters the other day, so it just made me think.
No, I messed around earlier in life, and I decided I didn't need school Tactica, and then I realized very quickly not very quickly at all, but after 10 years of working as a retail boy, that I definitely I needs me education.
Yeah, fair.
I needs me paper.
Yeah, understand that. In terms of just staying with the end and the death just for one more minute, you read the back cover because they've actually shown the blurb as well. And it's sort of like the walls have fallen, the gates have breached, the defenders are slain. It is the end and the death. I've skipped a sentence there. Horus, once beloved son, has come to murder his father. The emperor must die. The lives of uncountable numbers have been extinguished. The emperor's dream lies in tatters, but there remains a sliver of hope. At the final hour of the final day, the emperor rises. With him come his angel, Praetorian, and his captain, determined to enact terrible vengeance. But the hope is slim, because the War Master sees all and knows all, and the ultimate victory of chaos is at hand. There is no way out. That's a very good back cover blurb, Mr. Abnett. Well done.
For some reason, I'm now just reminded I'm expecting their screen to fade to black and goes, and now Castrol GTX presents WWF No Way Out 2-Fel kind of thing.
Cage match.
Hell in a Cell, Emperor versus Horus. There you go.
Oh, God.
Oh, dear. I do wonder, though... That's fine. I do wonder, though, where this story will get to, because one thing with Siege of Terra, especially wherever Echoes of Eternity ends, and I'm sure we'll discuss that at some point, trying to do the Sanguinius fight and the Emperor Horus fight is a lot of work. And it seems like the story is picking up pretty much with the Emperor going to the ship. So how are they going to A, stretch this out over 2 books, and B, not feel like they're just padding for time? I know it's an important story and you want to do it right, but you've got to be careful of not over padding. Are they going to spend loads of time on the aftermath? Is the Emperor going to die at the end of this book and then the whole follow-up book will be the aftermath? All that? I don't know.
If I had to guess, I'd say that that volume 1 will end after the Horus Sanguinius fight. It ends with the Emperor coming onto the bridge and seeing Sanguinius dead, to be continued, dun dun dun.
Yeah.
And then maybe the second part 2 opens up, maybe some flashback scenes before we jump straight into the fight with Horus kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that's definitely possible, because they can't have the end of the second book be the fight between Horus and the Emperor, because otherwise you've spent 2 books padding up to it. And yes, the Sanguinius fight is important, but if all you need to do is the Sanguinius fight and the Emperor fight, 1 book would do. Theoretically. So they've got a lot of build-up. I'm assuming you'll see a few bits where the Emperor's sort of setting up for the end, telling Malkador and Constantine Valdor to stay behind. And we'll have a big, fat, sad farewell scene with Malkador as he burns up on the Golden Throne and all that lark. But we'll see exactly how it sets up and pays off, because it's going to take a while to get there.
Yeah, definitely. How long before we get the memes of we're going to have a time-travelling Eisenhorn interfere or something stupid like that? No, tell what it's going to be, because it's Dan Abbott, he's going to find someone to tie it into the Beckwin novels, so we're going to have a time-travelling Beckwin along with a future Constantine Valdor and his army of winged blood angels coming in just for fuck's sake, Abbott, no, kind of thing. I imagine that's the meme answer. We know that's going to be the case. It's all going to somehow tie into Eisenhorn and Ravner and Beckwin somehow, because it just will, because it's Dan Abnett.
Yeah, maybe. We'll have to see. But do they give a date in terms of when it's roughly coming out?
No, it just says pre-order Echoes of Eternity now.
Yeah, fair enough. Excuse me.
But speaking of books, there were some new novels revealed this week, and one of which you two will both be interested in, considering that you're both Tau players, and that we're getting a Shadow Sun novel.
Indeed. So this is by Phil Kelly, who has obviously written the Farsight novels up to now and is very good at writing Tau, and has also sort of set up Shadow Sun in the background with a few little character traits and things like that with Farsight. So this is the next of the ones that look like a textbook when in regular form, but look absolutely amazing in limited edition books. And
someone did point out why for limited edition, why does she have a nose?
She does appear to have a nose. Yes, that is strange. And also that she seems, there's just the angle of it looks like she sort of sat down in the battle suit because of the way that her arms are set with the fusion blasters in front, but that's nitpicking. So the book itself says it is about the Startide Nexus. So this is set in 9th edition after the 5th Sphere of Expansion got underway. So Shadow Sun is in the Nemyar Atoll. We assume, it is. Yeah, it's up against the Death Guard and demons. So Tau fighting demons and the battle for the Startide Nexus, which is such a weird MacGuffin of a fight in the Tau Codex, because it's like, oh my god, the Death Guard are going to overrun us. They're going to overrun us. They got through. They broke through the portal. Wait for them at the other side. Ambush them, and they never turned up.
They buggered off.
It's such
they did.
Did they?
They just got their ass kicked by Shadow Sun.
The Shadow Sun was trying to defend the portal and failed, as I understand it.
Fucking face. I'm sorry. Just look.
Yeah, I know it's not the best. It's the eyes that get me.
Oh, it's the eyes. It's just God. Tau have always been portrayed as having red eyes. Why are these just so human looking? I think that's what does it. That's what drives it into Uncanny Valley, right? Like, if the eyes were pure red, like how we've always seen Tau eyes normally portrayed, that'd be fine. But these are like weirdly human. Like, Tau eyes have always been like kind of big, right? And red. And these are just like perfectly human sized and piercing.
It's not even just
blue.
that. It's not even just that. It's the fact she has like human pupils. Whereas, like, previously, that Tau had more like goat eyes in a sense. Or, like, just completely, lacking a visible sclera altogether.
Yeah. I guess Shadow Sun, went to her eye doctor and got some Visine.
But going back to the Startide Nexus briefly, from what I can recall, the Death Guard were about to make their way through the Startide, and then Fabius Spile off-screen nicked a MacGuffin they wanted, and the entire Death Guard fleet turned round.
Yeah, we've had this we've had this conversation before, I'm pretty sure. Where
we probably have.
Yeah, no, because I think I made a point that it like pissed me off because the Tau had an opportunity to actually do something, and then Fabulous Bill was like, "All right, boys, prank 'em." And stole this incredibly, just very, very important Death Guard relic. And that caused Typhus to just, drop everything to chase him.
It's like, aha, you'll never catch me now that I have the Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Thing.
The kid, Typhus? Well, I beg to differ.
This is to be Psychic Awakening 8, War of the Spider, because I didn't read that one. So that must be how that got set up. I didn't read that one, so maybe that's where it happened. So I'm a bit behind on my Death Guard lore, it seems.
But in terms of other books, we're getting an Alpha Legion novel called Renegade's Harrowmaster.
And it looks really good, actually. Sort of the idea of what happens when the Alpha Legion run into Primaris. How are they going to deal with it? Like, how did the Force of Chaos actually deal with Primaris when out on campaign? Like, we've seen it from the idea of Primaris going to war and fighting these trait moves and all that. And you get the odd one like the Iron Warrior who called someone a Thunder Warrior or something. I remember that from somewhere. But when you've actually got to beat them how'd you do it? And how'd you do it when you're the Alpha Legion, who are not really renowned for hitting things in the face very hard?
No.
Also, can we just point out that psychic power hand where he's got like a nest of snakes for an arm? Like, that's really cool.
It is, yeah.
The final novel is Wrath of the Lost, a Flesh Terrors model, which is about the Flesh Terrors who have left Cretacia isolated because they got too bloodthirsty and went on campaign too much after getting their Primaris reinforcements. So now they've got to send a few people home to try and protect Cretacia. Oops.
I mean, in fairness, if you know anything about Cretacia, then, like, if anyone tries to invade it, they're going to be in for a bad time. Where you have mosquitoes the size of men and actual Godzillas running around. It's
not quite Hecaton, but it's not nice.
It's not quite Hecaton, but it's up there.
Indeed.
Again, you have literal Godzillas running around. You have mosquitoes the size of men whose proboscis can actually pierce power armor. You have giant herbivores that can crush a space marine underfoot, kind of thing.
Indeed. It's not nice for an invading force, but will the Flesh Terrors have been able to deal with it in absentia? And yeah, I want to read this one. I do. Because Gabriel Seth came across really, really well in the Dante novels, particularly Devastation of Baal. I actually came to quite like Gabriel Seth. I liked him anyway as a character, but particularly during that book, I really liked Gabriel Seth. So this is by Chris Forrester, who is making their full-length debut, but has written a Flesh Terrors short before called Disgraced. Not that I've actually read it. It's in the
apparently
Successes
it's
anthology.
A sequel. Yeah, apparently it's going to be like a sequel to Disgrace, isn't it? So
it would make sense if these are characters, this Chaplain, Duma, and Apothecary Barakiel had been set up before. That would be quite useful.
I mean, it literally says following his Flesh Terror short story.
True.
So I imagine it's going to be some kind of pseudo-sequel.
Yeah, I'd hope so.
Yeah.
So yes, lots going on in the Black Library. The last place to stop is the Underhive, because I think we found... Was it this one that had the award for derpiest model? No. Last week we had the derpiest model of the year for House Goliath. These two were much better. So we got 2 new outlaws for House Goliath and 1 for House Escher. We'll start with Escher, who have got the... What are they called? What's her name? The Matriarchs Blade. That's the one. The Gene sister of the Matriarch Primus of House Escher.
Mm-hmm. And she even comes with a caryatid, which looks like a grumpy toddler.
Have we ever seen or heard of one of those before?
We have. We just never had a model before.
So what are they, for the benefit of me and others?
Caryatids, they're basically a race of Xenos that are native to Necromunda that act as familiars, in a sense. It's basically considered good luck to have one follow you around, because that basically means like you're going to live a long life. But if a caryatid adopts you and then decides to fuck off, that's basically a bad omen. It's like, oh, you're going to die shortly, kind of thing.
I get you. But the model itself is really good. I mean, it's got one of the most over the top. I think it's just the angle. It looks a lot better in the artwork as just being a massive top knot. But her hair looks really
80s.
80s, yeah.
It's like it's photoshopped on. I'm sorry.
It does a bit. It does a bit.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
The rest of it.
Somebody took a bit of hair and just blew it up in size and photoshopped it right in there.
Yeah, all they had to do was slide it backwards about 2 inches, and so you could see the top knot, and that would have been fine. But
or just to the side a bit,
or even that, yeah,
like in the artwork.
In the artwork, exactly. But the rest of the model, like you've got the killer heels, a chain axe of her own, a plasma pistol, a really old school plasma pistol, like a Heresy era plasma pistol. I think the rest of the design, the pose and everything is really, really good. It's just the hair that looks daft.
I'll be honest, looking at the plasma pistol, when I first saw this, my initial thought was like a Fire Dragon's fusion gun.
Yeah, actually.
That was my initial thought.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's because of the ammo drum thing.
Very true. Oh, excuse me. Sorry. But no, it's very good. Just needs probably the hair, putting it at a different position and different angle. If you are not a fan of crazy hairdos, how about having a chainsaw mohawk instead? Check out House Goliath. We have chainsaw mohawks.
And the derpiest face known to man, apparently, as well.
Yeah, so we have Axon Hammer, which is an outlaw house agent with a combi plasma and, yes, quite a derpy face. Admittedly, I get the feeling that a few meme accounts will be using that as their profile pictures. The other model is Durgan Killfist, who, would you believe, has a pneumatic spiked fist.
So it's a fist that kills things. Indeed.
He leads the Knuckle Boys. Yes, that's his gang. I know.
Sorry, that sounds like... It's like, oh, we're the Knuckle Boys. We're going to go for those toe rags or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it's not good. To be fair, though, I really like the... they call it a mace. I call it just a horrible spiked implement of destruction. Because it is a mace, but also, good God, ow.
It reminds me very much of a Crozius.
Yeah, I see that. I mean, that's a mace as well, so it does make sense that it would do. But it kind of looks like... I get the feeling that a Dark Apostle would not look out of place carrying that thing with skulls and bladed mace edges.
Absolutely.
So yes, Necromunda is getting some very interesting models, all with their own interesting traits and all probably with interesting flaws of their own, whether it's Mohawk chainsaw, derp face, or crazy 80s hairdo. Take your pick.
Now, I'm wondering, how long is it going to be? Someone's going to take the Killfist model, just swap the head for an orc and just give them the Mohawk and everything. It's like, it wouldn't look out of place as like a weird boy or something.
Yeah.
Or a mech boy or whatever. Yeah, I mean, a lot of the Goliath stuff can fit really well with orcs, just in general.
Yeah, I don't know if they're... I know they're big and chunky, but are they big and chunky enough? I haven't really seen the size comparisons.
I don't know. I need to see it side by side with an orc or something. Whatever it is, you can make them very buff grots.
Very buff grots.
I mean, they look better than the fucking, Cruel Boys, at least.
The Cruel Boys look fine.
With their tiny baby legs.
Yes, they're not as big as imposing as the other orcs, but having worked on a few and built a fair few alongside Warhammer Club, they're nice models. They're just not what we typically think of as Warhammer orcs. They're more Tolkien-y.
Yeah, I don't like them personally.
Which is fair enough. However, if you want something a bit less orky, but still want a bit more, since we talked about Cruel Boys, a bit more Sigmar in your life, they have also announced for Warhammer Quest Cursed City, which, remember, is coming back as a boxed game, again, they are doing an expansion pack for it called Night Wars.
Which is lacking any models inside of it.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
So basically, like, you need to own the models beforehand, which is... it's a bit cheeky.
It is. I get it in terms of you need...
I think what they should have done, like, an option with the models, or a cheap version if you already had the models as well, just having the rules only kind of thing. Rules and tokens.
Yeah, so
they
maybe...
should give you options,
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, maybe when they re-release Cursed City, it should have just come with this expansion pack included. So that you could buy the expansion pack if you had the models, or buy the box game with the expansion pack if you didn't have the models. That maybe would have solved the problem. But in terms of what it does offer, which is no models, it requires you to have a Soulblight Gravelords collection on top, because you need either Anika the Thirsting Blade, Carmilla du Sang, which is the vampire with bat hair, or Kritza the Rat Prince's models to actually complete the missions. So, boo. Boo forever.
Boo forever.
And Radikar the Beast could also... Oh, okay. So what it says is you'll need a set of Fellbats and Radikar the Beast to start immediately. So, yeah, you literally can't play it without buying 2 Soulblight Gravelords kits. And you then need to buy 3 more to unlock the other expansions and probably need to buy some other bits along the way. So I hope you have a friend who plays Soulblight, because otherwise this sucks.
Yeah.
Which is a shame, because Cursed City was incredibly popular. Like, it sold out and then went away, and then people were like, where's more Cursed City, please, GW? Because the models in there are really, really good. Radikar the Wolf is a great model. A lot of the Order models, like the Elven Archer, the Witch Hunters, the Light Priest, and all sorts of other stuff, there are some fantastic miniatures in there, but you can't access them without Cursed City, which is a huge investment for a game that most people won't play. And if you haven't got a Soulblight playing friend, why are you bothering? And if you do have a Soulblight playing friend, then they probably own more skeletons, zombies, bats, and these baby vampires than they can shake a bloody stick at. So they don't even need the models. It just... Yeah, something's off, and I don't think they've really handled Cursed City very well at all.
They got a lot of leftover resin.
More than likely.
Absolutely. But still, they are really nice models, and if you happened to have picked it up the first time and have a Soulblight playing friend who has the other 4 character models and Fellbats that you would need, then by all means give it a look-see. But would I say you want to invest in it? That's up to you, because the models in there, if you don't play Soulblight, are only really usable in a handful of places.
Yeah.
And that's the news. Only took us an hour, but we got there.
Only.
So yes, lots going on. This is the same thing that happens every time there's a reveals season.
This is true, yes.
But there'll be another one in due course someday, I'm sure. I mean, the only preview we've not talked about in any length before was when they did the Middle-earth one, because frankly, none of us care about Middle-earth.
Oh, speaking of which, the new edition of the new Middle-earth box game dropped today. No one cared.
Though ironically, we got a Nintendo...
Was it Battle of Osgiliath, or was it?
Yes, it was. Ironically, me and my partner got a Nintendo Wii last week with Lego Lord of the Rings on it. So, as much as I don't give a shit about Middle-earth and miniatures, I've actually been playing through the Lord of the Rings on Lego for the last week or so.
Oh, God.
I know.
Was it the one brick, is it?
I think that pun is somewhere on the box, yes.
Yeah. Wouldn't surprise me.
But no, the newer Lego games take themselves far more seriously. Like, it uses actual audio from the films rather than just the Lego grunts they used to have. So, yeah, it's fine. Sorry, I really quite like the old Lego games.
That's fine. What about you, Anchors? Do you like the Lego games?
Never played them, unfortunately.
I've only ever played one, and that was the Jurassic World one, but that was it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've played the Star Wars one, Indiana Jones, Batman, and I've got Lord of the Rings now. So yeah, I've played a lot of the earlier ones I've played back on the PS3, if you want a sense of how far back I'm going.
It's massive, that all the way back on the PS3, and here I am sitting, looking at my Sega Saturn from back in the day. It's like, all the way back on the PS3.
Yeah, I know, yes, you're old and nostalgia fest, but in gaming terms, the PS3 is ancient. Like, I know the Sega Saturn is even more ancient, but the PS3 is ancient technology by comparison to what we've got today.
Is it classified as a retro console now, or...?
I mean, it's 2 generations old, but I'll tell you what is a retro console. I went to sell a couple of bits down at a local establishment that shall not be named to prevent branding purposes. And I took down my Game Boy Advance SP, the little silver thing.
Mm.
And I managed to get more for it than I would have got for selling a blooming Nintendo 2DS. I got more for a Game Boy than I would have got for a 2DS.
Wow.
Yeah, because they gave me a quote, and then I took it away, and then they wanted to just test they were working. I came back, they couldn't sell the 2DS because it's damaged and doesn't work properly because there's a glitch on the bottom screen. But I worked it out, and they gave me more for the Game Boy than they would have given me for the DS, which was just funny.
That is kind of mad, yeah.
Anyway,
sorry I had to step away a little bit earlier there, by the way. So I lost track of the conversation. But I find it funny why I had to sign for a pallet of concrete.
Okay.
Concrete?
Yeah, a little on the nose.
Yeah, I'm sure that...
Rogal Dorn signing for building materials. Yes, just put it over there with the others menials.
Speaking of Dawn, Rem, I believe you have some thoughts.
Yeah, it's appropriate that we have anchors on today because I read the new Rogal Dorn novel. And so, yeah, there will be spoilers. So if you want to avoid spoilers, skip to the timestamp in the description. So entering the spoiler room brawl in 3, 2, 1. I can't believe CM Punk said that about the Young Bucks and Hangman Page. Anyway.
That's not even a spoiler, everybody knows.
But yeah, before I go into the story, I just want to say, I fucking hate how this book is set up. Because, like, right, you know how a novel tends to have chapters? This doesn't at all. It's all just one massive chapter. And
well,
it's
that's
annoying.
fucking annoying.
It's really annoying. Because, like, you don't get the natural break, so you're like, okay, I can read through this, and then stops. Like, you have to, like, find somewhere to stop. It's like, I can't stop here. No, it doesn't make sense. No, I can't. No, I find to kill everyone kind of
and
thing.
It doesn't even have, like, the idea of, like, even if you took, like, the chapter markings from a book, there doesn't seem to be, like, a natural stopping off point at any point. It just is go,
really,
go, go.
No. It's just pretty much go, go, go. I mean, obviously, there are, like, you get your paragraphical separators of, like, 2, 3 spaces kind of thing, but that's about it. It's just... I just want to ask, Gav, why did you set up this way? No. Just no. I haven't actually had to read a book like that since the Shrike novel, and even the Shrike novel was separated into at least 3 different sections, so you could argue that had 3 chapters in the entire book, kind of thing at least. But even so.
Yeah,
anyway.
I can't imagine it being a friendly reading experience, but yes, let's actually discuss what was there once you managed to soldier through.
Yes, so we start off prior to the Siege of Terra, and you got Fafnir, Ran, and Sigismund just basically looking up at the sky, while standing on the battlements of the Imperial Palace, and they're basically just asking each other, like, have you ever wondered why we were sent to come back to Terra in the first place and didn't go on more, campaigns of conquest? Sigismund's like, not really, no. And Rand's like, yeah, but, like, for the bureaucratic shit, wouldn't, like, Gilliman have been a better choice, considering, he is a bureaucrat? Or if you needed someone to, like, be a symbol to the people, wouldn't Sanguinius have been a better choice? Or if you wanted someone just to defend the palace, Perturabo would have been a better choice. And that's probably the only time you ever hear an Imperial Fist saying Perturabo was the better choice over Rogal Dorn.
Yeah, I mean, but yeah, and I am worried getting a compliment from an Imperial Fist truly stop the world they need to get off.
Well, let's not hang on. Let's not dig into that too deep. I think it would be more like he's making a slight at Perturabo. Like, Perturabo's better for garrison duty, not us. We should be out there fighting.
Okay, yeah,
you can argue that way, yeah.
Yeah, it's a 2-way. Yeah, I'll give you that one.
And then a shadowy voice talks to Ran and Sigismund from the darkness, and like, oh, but there is a reason we chose your father because of, he's the best because of the events of the Night Crusade. And then we jump back several decades prior, or it could be hundreds of years at this point, to the onset, just before the onset of the Night Crusade. The Night Crusade basically being the campaign to bring into the worlds into compliance that are around the Eye of Terror. It's not called the Eye of Terror, it's called like the Ecludia Noctis at this point.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And the Imperial Fists have just basically brought this one world into compliance, the world called Scathia. Absolutely brutal compliance, really bloody campaign. And afterwards, Dorn meets up with... No, my mistake, no. they're conducting a campaign alongside the Emperor's Children and the Dark Angels. And at this point, Lionel Johnson's only recently been found by the Imperium, so it's like one of his first major campaigns as a Primarch.
Oh, fun.
And the Imperial forces have taken out the Scythian fleet, and the Primarchs are basically arguing over who should lead the ground assault. And Dorn's like, I think I should lead the ground assault. It's the most practical because, I've got the most forces here. Plus, I've got the Phalanx. The Phalanx could scare, the Scythians into submission. So, less bloodshed overall. And Lionel Johnson's like, no, I should lead it because, you're being a coward, Rogal. I should lead because I've lost so much men. I need to lead this campaign. And Fulgrim's like, no, I think Dorn should lead it because he's got the Phalanx and he's scared people into submission. And Lionel's like being really a pouty little bitch about it. And he gets put in his place by both Dorn and Fulgrim over this.
I mean, it seems like Fulgrim and Dorn, well, Fulgrim in particular is like the training wheels Primarch who goes out with all of them just to acclimatize them.
Okay, Dorn was the only Primarch he was the only other Emperor of all the Primarchs. He wasn't a king, he was an Emperor. Because all the other Primarchs were kings in their own right?
Most of them, yeah.
Yeah, most of them. But Dorn was the only one who was an Emperor. And that's why he had a much greater perspective of command, because the thing is, he had a century or so of experience being a leader of warlords. None of the other Primarchs had that. They had their little crib, and they were the big fish in the microscopic pond.
I mean, you could argue Guilliman as well, considering Ultramar.
Yeah, but I want to say the difference is that he had a functional bureaucracy, and Dorn, again, he had actual clan warlords. He had, now that I think about it, he actually had the closest analogy I can think of to Battletech clans, basically.
That's one way of looking at it, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, unironically, now that I think about it, that's basically what he had. A bunch of warlords who had a rigid system of function, and he had to lead them because they're peacocking warlords, and he doesn't want to constantly be in a state of bringing them to heel, so he knows how to manage them, and that's why I think he's a good training wheels Primarch for a lot of them.
So as they're carrying on with the campaign of compliance, leading the attack on the ground and all that, Dorn gets word from his equerry that Lionel Johnson's forces have basically located the political capital and have basically launched an assault. And Dorn basically goes, okay, well, we'll transfer command over to Lionel Johnson. It's the most practical because he's already at the capital, so it just makes more sense because he's already there. Just give him command, and plus it'll shut him up at the same time, so make him feel special. Kind of thing. Soon after, Scathy gets brought into compliance. Then Horus and the Lunar Wolves turn up saying, sorry we're late, lads. Got stuck in traffic because of the warp travel. It's shit round here. Essentially. And they start making plans for the Night Crusade to bring more and more worlds around the Eye of Terror into the Imperial fold. And they're trying to come up with an idea of how to do this. Dawn's idea is just basically go straight through, and just bring everything in, piecemeal. Lionel Johnson wants to basically retake the entire fleet via Caliban and then basically go around that way, whereas Fulgrim wants to basically spiral inwards towards the Eye of Terror, and bring worlds in that way. And Horus just goes, well, I think we should do it everyone's way, not solving any problem whatsoever or solving any stalemate because you're a political little bastard.
Yay, Horus.
To which Dawn gets a little annoyed about this, saying we've been tasked by the Emperor to go into the Ecludian Noctis and bring the worlds down to compliance. And I think you're just changing the Emperor's orders to how you see fit rather than ordering your forces to how the Emperor commands it. And Lionel Johnson gets really pissy about this, saying, are you calling me a traitor because of my self-proclaimed laxity or whatever, or my so-called laxity? And Fulgrim's like, no, I don't think Dawn's saying that. And to which Dawn responds saying, no, that's exactly what I'm saying. And Fulgrim's literal response to that is just, shit. Like, literal response, just him going, shit.
Because I think Fulgrim knew that's what he was saying, but he was trying to
be diplomatic.
Give Dorn an out, basically.
Dorn doesn't believe in diplomacy and get it. I know he does, but believe.
I know what I said, and I said what I meant.
So basically, Lion's all pissed off, like, you have soothed my honor, blah, 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 I demand satisfaction.
That's right, Lion. Cry about it. What are you going to do? You going to shit? You going to fart? You going to shit?
So, a duel between the Dark Angels and the Imperial Fist is arranged. It's going to be a champion from Lion's Paladins against the Master of the Templars.
Oh, great. Sigismund proceeds to fucking demolish this guy.
No. It's not Sigismund, because Sigismund is only a sergeant at this point.
Oh, okay.
Is it Corswain, though?
It's not Corswain, no. Okay.
Who's the head of it? Who was it? Was it one of Dorn's Huskarls? The guy.
What was his name? Began with an A.
It's Aeolus.
Oh, not that one. Then I was thinking of a different guy. The one who actually was called the Praetorian of Dawn at the Battle of Pluto. I've forgotten his name.
It's like Aelous.
No, I don't think I know him.
But yeah, so everyone's preparing for the duel. Aeolus basically goes to Sigismund, who's in a training cage. Sigismund, who's going in a training cage, is saying, "Right, I'm going to be fighting a duel. You're going to be my second." And Sigismund's like, "Oh, cheers, governor," kind of thing. It's like, it's a huge honor. Like, even though I'm so recently inducted into the ranks of the Templars, to be viewed in such a high respect. And I'm just thinking, shut the fuck up, Sigismund. Fulgrim offers his ship as the neutral ground for the duel to take place, purely so Horus could offer the Vengeful Spirit. Because Fulgrim wanted to... Because Fulgrim wanted to be the centre of attention. It's like, make it on my ship. I'll make everything down to the meticulous detail. You have a nice little sand pit, everything, and
Horus is just like, get in me box.
And Aeolus basically steps in the ring and he sees the Master of the Paladins, who's basically got a sword and shield. And Aeolus has got a huge greatsword, and Aeolus is thinking, the guy's got a sword and shield, a little pussy. He's going to be defending all the time, just blocking like a little coward. Aeolus gets his shit absolutely kicked in by this Dark Angel. Literally, the Dark Angel smacks him in the face with his shield, knocks him down, puts the sword to his neck and goes, "Do you yield?" "All right, I yield."
3 seconds.
It wasn't that quick, but basically, Aeolus basically did a few blows with a sword. Dark Angel was blocking it with a shield. They start circling each other, but as they're doing, Sigismund notices that the Dark Angel is slowly getting closer and closer, which is basically nullifying the effect of a Great Blade because he's too close now.
Yep.
And then, then the Dark Angel absolutely puts a shit in. To which Dawn goes, "All right, fine, I apologise, I spoke out of turn, happy?" And Lion's like, "No," and just pouts and walks off.
Well, no, because fucking Lion loves being pedantic and petty because he wants to be the leader all the time, if that makes sense.
I am the first, therefore I should lead, essentially.
Yeah, that's how it used to be before we came along, so yeah, I can see it.
No, Horus was first by 150, 200 years, wasn't he?
But the Dark Angels were first.
The Dark Angels are the first Legion.
Okay, I don't give... Okay.
As in they're literally number one.
I'm not saying that we should give a fuck, but Lion gives a fuck.
We are the first. No. Calm down. You are the prototype Legion. You are the boys who get the blow up toys. The ones that explode to see which ones don't explode. Yeah, you're the ones who get the shit that blows up from the Mechanicus to see if it actually works.
But yeah, so basically, everyone goes back to their fleets, and effectively they start doing their plan, okay, so we're going to do everyone's plan. So Fulgrim's going to spiral inward, Lion's going to go round via Caliban, the Imperial Fist are just going to go barreling in straight, and Horus is basically just going to go the other way, essentially, because it's absolutely fucking pointless, but hey. They bring one system into compliance extremely peacefully because they're like, "Oh, we've heard stories about this Imperium, yeah, sign us up." And then there's another system that's like, "Nah, fuck you, you want to attack us, we're going to fight." So the Imperial Fist absolutely beat the shit out of this system, and we get a scene of, like, actually bringing the world into compliance where, like, you know, the world leaders have to, like, you know, sign the document saying we are now part of the Imperium kind of thing. And they think they're going to be killed, and Dorn's like, don't worry, you're not going to be killed off, you're going to keep your positions, you're still going to be in a position of power, blah, blah, blah. And to which the world leaders are like, well, what's the fucking point? What's the point of you conquering us if we're just going to stay everything the same it is? And Dorn's like, well, you're part of the Imperium now, so that means if aliens come, we can come protect you. You understand? Oh, okay. Kind of thing.
I'm sure if Dorn, like, looked at the guys, like, leaned in real, like, dropped to his knee, leans in real close and was like, that's what we were trying to say the whole time, dumbass.
And so they go off to further on the expansion and the campaign, the Crusader weather. But as they're doing, they're noticing some of the Vanguard fleets are disappearing. Like, something is taking them, or something's destroying them, and they don't know what. And it's a foe that eventually gets called by Imperial forces simply as the Unseen, because originality is dead. One of the Vanguard fleets, one that has some of the Templars on it, they get attacked by the Unseen, and it turns out that it's a human civilization that has invisibility technology.
Ooh.
Base.
Yep. So, like, the Unseen end up boarding some of the ships and try and take some of the Legion serfs away. They try to kidnap them. And the Templars and, like, are going, nah, fuck this, bang, bang, bang. They end up, like, shooting, killing a whole bunch of them, and they take some of them prisoner. Now, what they know, the Imperial Fist know, is that the Unseen are able to strike stupidly quick and escape stupidly quick. And it seems like their technology allows them to go at speeds even beyond warp, allegedly. And the lead astropath on the Phalanx, he basically comes up with a theory to Dawn saying, I think they're using something like warp gates. And I was like, warp gates? Really? I thought that was just a theory. It's like, well, no, apparently not. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, it's not a theory because the Imperial Fist already conquered Necromunda by this point and you already had to deal with those warp gates, didn't you? But hey.
we are where we are. Carry on.
We are where we are. So the Imperial Fist are basically trying to locate where these warp gates could be, but basically just sending out little scouting ships to try and find where, you know, worlds are being defended, or, like, you know, where resistance is thickest. Because, like, if the resistance is thicker here, that must mean we're getting close to a critical system or a warp gate, etc.
Okay, yeah, checks out.
Now, with some of the captured Unseen, they notice that they're, you know, they look regularly human. They seem to be regularly human. They basically put them in the brig, you know, you're just wearing Legion Surf uniforms now. No belts allowed. No nothing. No shoelaces. No killing yourselves. Whatever. They try to interrogate them, basically try and find out where the warp gates are. And they're, like, not talking. So they call in one of the librarians. I think it's a chief librarian. He comes in, tries to read their mind, doesn't get anything, tries to push a little bit deeper, again, described as being the akin of just breathing softly on someone, and the guy dies. Like, brain hemorrhage, cardiac arrest, simultaneously, bang, he's dead.
Wait, what? What happened?
Yeah, the librarian tried to read the guy's mind, and that caused the guy to have cardiac arrest and brain hemorrhaging at the same time.
Extreme vulnerability to the warp, or a kill switch of some kind.
Yeah, the librarian's like, I didn't do fuck all. I just basically, like, it's basically equivalent to just like lifting up a cloth on, you know, something or whatever. It's just something happened. So they perform an autopsy on him, and they find that in his brain there's some kind of, like, biological webbing, essentially, which is described as being something akin to a librarian's psychic hood. Okay. And it's basically, it renders them, like, extremely, like, weak to psychic powers, and they think, why do they have this? Like, and Dawn's like, I thought you said these guys were human. It's like, they are, but it's been, you know, thousands of years. They might have just evolved something different. I don't know. We need to do more studies. It's like this webbing is disintegrating us after their death, so we need to like examine, it fresh, essentially. And to which someone says, "You want to cut open their head and watch this happen when you examine their mind?" Maybe. It's like, that's a bit fucked up.
That's war crimes.
Essentially, yes. But they start going on, still looking for these warp gates. And it gets to the point where Dorn goes, "You know what? We're going about this the wrong way. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use the phalanx as bait. We're going to bait them to come to us, and then we're going to pursue them and see which way they flee, and then hopefully lead us to a warp gate."
Okay, yeah, makes sense.
And, they get attacked by a fleet, whatever. But as this is going on, they have some of the expedition, some of these little vessels, these little scout vessels, just basically looking in these rough areas where the warp gate could be. And the librarian who's on the ship with the astropath, they think they find it because they're like, "Oh, hang on, I sense something weird here. It's like sand skipping on the wind, but I can just about sense it here." And as they do, the gate opens and more ships come through. It's like, well, we need to warn the phalanx. It's like, no, because if we send communications, they'll spot us, we'll be shot, we'll be blown up, we'll be fucked. So they have an idea. It's like, can we close the gates? Let's try it. So they end up combining their psychic powers to end up closing the warp gate, which ends up like, no joke, like slicing a ship in half, like a capital ship in half.
Fun.
Yep. And yeah, it is pretty gnarly. But because they found the warp gate, the Imperial Fist, after fending off the unseen fleet, they basically go through and they end up finding their way to the core system of the unseen, which is known as the, I'm going to pronounce this wrong probably, but it's like the Capiculu Confederacy or something to that effect.
The Capybara Confederacy, of course.
Yes, the Capybara Confederacy, let's do that, yes. And the Imperial Fists wage a ground war and say, like, this is your last chance to surrender and comply, or we'll be forced to take drastic actions. They don't comply, so what does Rogal Dorn say? It's like, well, we saw how bad they went to a very, very, very mild psychic probing. Every single astropath and librarian on board the phalanx, let them have it. Boom.
Oh, psychic nuke.
A psychic nuke, yes. So the Capicula Confederacy, they surrender. Their leaders go, okay, we'll surrender, we'll comply. We'll comply. And Dawn's like, so how come you have that, you put that webbing in your head anyway to begin with? I'm curious. Oh, we didn't choose to put it there. It was put there by our previous masters. What do you mean? Well, centuries ago, we used to be slaves to another civilization, and they modified our DNA so that we'd have these so they can keep us under control. To which Dawn goes, oh, so you're not strictly human anymore, are you? I guess not. Bang, 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 everyone dies.
Oh, for God's sake, Dawn.
And Dawn's like, my job was to bring human worlds into compliance. These are no longer human. Kill them all. Let the Emperor sort them out. Essentially.
Oh, for God's sake, Dawn.
And then we come back to the present day saying, and the person in the shadows telling the story turns out to be Malcador. And he goes, so you see, kids, this is why we chose Dawn, because we know he's reliable and we give the keys to the fortress to those we trust. The end.
Right.
So yeah, Dawn committed genocide at the end.
And that made him trustworthy.
He committed genocide on a race of gene-modded slaves who were modified against their will by another species or civilization and therefore were no longer suitable to be human. Jesus tap dancing Christ, Dawn.
I mean, this is the Imperium. Do we need to say more?
I know, but given the fact that Horus was in a position to negotiate with the Interrex, who were Xenophiles, not like that, who were
but
xenophiles,
still human.
But still human. But by that logic, Dorn would have genocided the squats because they were just modified by their environment to the point they were no longer compatible with humans. That's all they are. They were abhumans. They were gene-modified humans. Therefore, by extension, they're abhumans. Like, it's a forced evolution, but it's still just an evolution. Like, by that logic, he'd genocide every Space Marine walking. Because they're not human.
But the exception is, with Space Marines, that was assigned by the Emperor, so it's okay.
Yeah, but could you imagine if they found another species of another empire that had gene-modded human soldiers? By that logic, they ought to die, which is just double in standards. So I'm sorry, I
That's the whole point.
I know it is. I understand what Malcador is saying, and I get why Malcador is saying it, because the whole follow the Emperor's orders to the letter, prove you are trustworthy, and you will be rewarded. I get that as an idea of where the Imperium chose to pick Dorn, but also the double standards are fucking irritating.
Again, this is the Imperium. That's the whole point.
I know. The Imperium are not the good guys, and they never have been.
No one is the good guy. The only good guy is, I don't know, Terrence. He's just sitting there minding his own business, eating his yogurt, not being judgmental about anyone. Be like Terrence. There you go. Anyway, but yeah.
Was the book good? Apart from unreadable, was the book good?
I feel the score would be higher if it was actually separated into actual proper chapters. It's not the worst Primarch book, because, let's be honest, that's going to take some beating.
Conrad cares say hi.
But I wouldn't call it upper tier either. I'd say, as far as the Primarch books go, I'd say it's around mid-tier.
Fair
around
enough.
the middle, somewhere. So, I'm sure Valrak has a different opinion in regards to this, but
I think the killer question is always, would you recommend other people read it?
if you're an Imperial Fists fan or a Dorn fan, then go for it. Otherwise, if it's in front of you, you might as well read it, but I wouldn't go out your way to get it.
Yeah, because when you read as much as particularly you do, our managers, if a book comes out, one of us will pick it up and read it, usually you. But if you're listening for recommendations, that's the sort of thing you need to listen to. It's not just what's the story, what's the lore, because we want to know what the lore is, but also is the book any good and do you want to read it? Do you want other people to read it? Is kind of the important thing.
It has some good moments, like the interaction between Dorn and the other Primarchs is really good. It's really nice to see his relationship with Fulgrim, for example, because after his duel, there is like a scene where him and Fulgrim are talking kind of thing, and it's a very sweet moment in all things considered. So if you like to see how the Primarchs interact with one another prior to the heresy, go for it. But as a standalone book, I can't personally recommend it. Not unless you're a really big Imperial Fist or Dorn fan or just a Primarch completionist.
Yeah.
But as I said, it's not the worst of the Primarch series by a country mile. It's not the worst, but it's not going to crack in the top 5.
It's a bit like Dorn himself in many ways. When most people talk about their favourite Primarchs, he's just there.
Yeah, it is a book.
It is certainly one of the books of all time.
5 out of 10, it was okay.
But I should dig up that quote and have you voice it where he goes like, just kill them all, let the Emperor sort them out, kind of thing.
Kill them all, let the Emperor sort them out.
Clip that.
I mean, we already clipped the Rogal Dorn's Colossal Chainblade. But hey,
Yeah, I've had that sent to me so many times.
it's like, it's almost as if you voiced it.
Yeah.
We can only apologise for the barrage of nonsense you have received as a result of things you may have said on this podcast.
It's fine.
I still get a barrage of things in regards to things I've said on TTS.
Yeah.
And that was like 6 years ago. 6 years ago! Get over it!
Right?
Oh dear. Though, funnily enough, I'm surprised no one's animated Samoa Joe's line about Sigismund's cereal yet.
How did that one go?
About how he's talking about how a demon of Zinj would shit in Sigismund's cereal every morning, and that's why he's so grumpy.
Yes, that was it.
Yeah. If you're an animator...
Please do get in touch, maybe with a sample of your work, and we may commission you to do a few pointless animated skits.
I miss Adeptus Animaticus.
I do.
We need more of them. Where are you, Andre? Come back, we need you.
Yeah, because I feel like we invited Andre on the show, and he said, like, when I've got something done, I'll let you know and you can have us back on, but it just sort of went quiet.
It did, yeah. I hope he's alright.
Yeah, I do too. It was a very funny time when those episodes were coming out. They were a bit of a highlight of the week with Animaticus.
They were. But yeah, we'll come out of the spoiler room brawl now. So welcome back, everyone. Yep. Welcome back. So yeah, I still can't believe what CM Punk said about Hangman Page or Colt Cabana. It was absolutely unreal. But anyway.
Absolutely. I haven't got anything to add on Arm and Eternal because I've barely had a chance to pick it up in the past couple of weeks. With getting back to work at the start of the new school year and everything, I've not had time.
Fair enough.
But
Anchors, have you read anything?
No, unfortunately. I still have a pile of 40k books.
wait, hang on.
The problem is with me with 40k, right? Like, I want to love 40k, especially with where I was, where I have been, or how I've been involved with the community, right?
Yeah.
This is a great example. I love dwarves, just in general. I freaking love dwarves. I think they're one of the most fun fantasy races to play. And when space dwarves in 40k got dropped, I had a bunch of my friends who know me really well in real life, constituents of mine that I play RPGs with, locally. They all messaged me and they sent me League of Votann shit. Like, bro, are you excited? Are you stoked? Like, are you gonna get this army? And I gave the most surprised even me. I gave the most lukewarm response I think I've ever given to something. Like, oh, that's nice. Anyway,
Have you worked out why that was? Was it the models? Was it just how you feel about the game at the time? Or
it's just how I feel. It's even how I feel now. Because, I just ended my Rogue Trader game that I've been playing for a little bit, or running for a little bit, because it's just 40k has hit a point with me. And I think this is true with a lot of people. And I get this especially in my Crusade server that I'm still kind of I'm not even running anymore, quite frankly. I've handed that responsibility off to the other owner. But I do talk to the people there, and their own, I want to say, motivation for the game has really petered off. Just in general, even the lore. It's the same, I want to say, kind of tired nonsense over and over and over again. It's sort of like a wash and repeat cycle. And, yeah, the game's just kind of, I don't want to say this, but it just, because I know this is a 40k podcast. It just doesn't
No, it's honestly, go for it.
It's just not fun anymore. Honestly, the 40k has, I love the lore, and I do want to read it, and I do want to get involved, or stay involved, but it's become very sterile, if that makes sense. To a shocking degree. And when it comes to the actual gameplay on the tabletop, with the fact that they've gotten rid of their testing team, the feedback that they get from tournaments, not even individual forum responses, is their testing team. And sometimes that can take months, many months, for a correction to come out. Or a fix to come out for a broken combination or a broken unit in tabletop, and it's just not fun. When you're sitting there, I forget what it was, but when Dark Eldar dropped, rack spam was a thing, or using +5 invuln, +5 feel no pain racks, and they're cheap enough that you could just flood the board with them in a 2,000 point game. And it's just so hard to remove them. Because you just can't kill them, and they just mob the objective, and then they beat you to death with I think toxic weapons. I forget. It's been
poison weapons, I think, is the official name for the rule.
Yeah. But they do all that, and I think they can even resurrect in that particular army as well. Then the Mechanicus, when it first came out, they never, like, the thing is they refuse to standardize things, if that makes sense, right? Like, a las cannon in the Imperial Guard will still be the old regular D6, but the las cannon for the Mechanicus, and it's the same las cannon, is a D3 +3. And it just doesn't make sense. Like, standardize your rules, please. Make the game enjoyable for all armies. Make it balanced for a particular weapon across all armies. I get the whole, we gotta make things unique and special and blah, blah, blah. No, that's kind of BS. No one really gives two shits about that, quite frankly. People want to play with models, they want to play with an aesthetic, and they want to play with a particular tactical play style, and the fact that they've just, kind of dropped the ball on that. Like, the whole Chaos Marines not getting 2 wounds, when it could have been a very easy errata where you just bump the points up, give them 2 wounds, and call it a day, right? Like, that would have tided the Chaos players over for so long. Like, so very, very long. Right?
Yeah. I do see what you're saying with all of that. I mean, admittedly, I view Warhammer very differently to what I did 5, 6, maybe 3 years ago, because back when I was at university, Warhammer was what that was what I lived and breathed when I wasn't doing uni work. I had the podcast, I had all my own videos, I had my lore series, I was going and playing games every week at my local GW. Then I went to France, and it was literally just therapy. It's a hobby, and doing my live streaming and all of that. But as I've got busier and the day-to-day has taken over, the way I view Warhammer now is it's a nice pastime, but it's a pastime I have absolutely no way to keep up with financially or in terms of time commitments. Where I get my enjoyment of the hobby now is in the Warhammer club I run at school. There was an article this week about Warhammer Alliance, which Rem pinged my way. And actually, I got my first liked tweet off of Warhammer Community because I tweeted about how good the Alliance stuff was for our club, getting us started. Because I've now managed to introduce 20-ish students of mine to Warhammer, but the pleasure I get from it is in helping them as people. Yes, I'm giving them a hobby, I'm giving them something that they enjoy, but I'm getting to see them develop their social skills. I'm getting to see them develop their motor skills, their analysis skills, their idea of just repeated things. There's students who I know, I'm not going to name names or get into too much detail, who have gone from being incapable of completing a task without asking a teacher 18 times to someone who can play an entire game of Age of Sigmar all on their own and might just need to check something if it's a new unit they've never seen before. And that happened in the space of a few months. For me, the hobby and Warhammer, I appreciate everything you're saying. You're absolutely right. As a game, I'm not excited by it the way I was by the older editions. I'm not as invested as I used to be. I think that the 8th edition change and the terrible speed of update, followed by the 9th edition happening in the middle of COVID, meaning that it passed me by, has dulled my enthusiasm for the game. I still love the models. I still love the background and the lore and the reading that I do. And I love painting, and I get a lot of reward out of painting, as much as it's a lot more time consuming. But my biggest love in the hobby is letting other people experience it for the first time. For veterans, I think this is a bit of a rough patch because the GWs, you say, are taking their feedback now from tournaments, not from testing teams who are a mix of play testers. So all they care about on a rules perspective is it fun and flavorful in first release? And then how do we bring it into line, even if they don't standardize it? The game doesn't feel like just a fun little sandbox game the same way it did in 5th and 7th, whereas now in 9th it feels like a tournament mindset in terms of how the game is played. And we don't do that. We don't do stratagems. We don't do detachments. We don't do proper army lists. We just get a few models and we have a knock around. For new players, 40k is a fantastic game. It teaches you so much and develops so many skills as well as being fun and engaging. But for veterans like yourself, like me, because I've been in it more than half my life, it's not the same anymore. It is a bit stale. And that's true of the lore, but especially true of the game. The game feels a lot more stale than it used to. Or it might just be that I've got old and thus become senile and annoying and cynical. Who knows?
I've become, we're grognards. Let's just get over it. Back in my day, you whippersnappers with your zooming and your Space Dwarves and your completely
Super Nintendos
and your Nintendos and your completely unbalanced codexes. Back in my day, we used to have our Tau gun drones attached to the battlesuit units, and when we suffered morale loss and our battlesuit unit fled, we accepted it.
Yeah. God, I miss the nonsense of 5th edition. I know it's nostalgia, it's only nostalgia, but I miss being a kid who didn't understand the game very well, who just wanted to pick it up and play it, and that enjoyment of just throwing dice and having fun and doing it with the kids, of playing the game without worrying about balance, without worrying about additional special rules, without just playing the damn game, is so fun and engaging. I don't have to act. Teaching's like 90% acting, but I don't have to act about enjoying Warhammer. If I went to a club or down to Warhammer World for a game with people who aren't my friends, I'd probably get really jaded within a few hours, maybe even within an hour. But playing at club, I can just play the game basic, and it's so much more fun and rewarding. It just is. I don't know. My takeaway is don't give a shit about whether it's fair or not. Just throw down and have fun and enjoy the models you own. That's my takeaway.
And if that was the case, then I would be playing Battlefleet Gothic, and well...
No one's playing Battlefleet Gothic.
Yeah. I have played Battlefleet Gothic. It is a fun game. I love it. It is classical naval fun times, but it really is a long game to play.
Yeah, I can imagine it is.
It's like, but, and this is a very big but. That's all I have to say.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big but.
Oh, terrible.
I am terrible. Yes.
Anyway, we're walking up on hour 45. How long do these normally run again?
2 hours.
2 hours.
Okay, yeah, cool.
Yeah, so we've got a little bit of time. So let's see if we've got any questions, shall we?
Please do.
Not a lot of comments this week, as it happens. Oh, speaking of, this is about Battlefleet Gothic, but this is an interesting question anyway. Have you tried some of the systems that are related in spirit to 40k or based on similar rules, such as Renegade Scout, which is the modernization of Rogue Trader, or one-page rules, the simplification of 40k as it stands? In fact, they actually then went on to talk about Renegade Scout for me as a blend of old and new with different things and critical hits and vehicle damage tables and things like that. So I just wondered if anyone's come across any of them or maybe played any of them or knows people who have.
No.
I have not, no.
Have not. I mean, that's kind of how detached I've become. I didn't even know that those were a thing.
Well,
Same here, to be honest.
one-page rules is, I know that's a thing, but Renegade Scout is just, it's not a GW product. It's kind of like games that are homages to what came before, but with a slightly new coat of paint and a new twist. So it's not even made by GW, which is why I've not heard of it.
Fair enough.
What would you think about a Warhammer version of Just a Minute, which would be fairer on people without encyclopedic knowledge? I'm assuming this is aimed at us rather than 40k itself.
What's just a minute?
That's my question. I was hoping you would be able to tell me. Give me a minute.
Is it a game about making excuses? That's what it sounds like to me.
Just a minute. Oh, it's a thing on Radio 4. Just a minute panel game in which the contestants are challenged to speak for 1 minute without hesitation, deviation, or repetition on any subject that comes up on the card. So you just are given a topic and have to talk about it for a whole minute straight without pausing or repeating yourself. Okay.
Oh, okay. I mean, that's a pretty easy win. You just go into any lore universe. That's kind of unfair, actually.
No, but it's a good way, I think, for people to, as a format, it would be quite an interesting way of either doing a quiz show, like Quizcastus that we did for 150, or doing a segment where explain this as quickly as you can, giving as much detail as you can in a very short space of time. So as like a short series of videos, like YouTube shorts or something, just doing these 1 minute bang, 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 rattle it off could be quite useful as a way of doing like Remleiz's lore for newcomers, which are 10 minutes long, 15 minutes long?
Give or take.
But condensing them down even more into just a short burst for people who really just need a quick education but haven't got the time to go through it all.
The Eldari are evil space elves who poop crystals, the end. Kind of thing. I don't know.
I got a question if I'm not gonna detract or derail here. So, if you had the full power of these and support of the Black Library behind you, yeah, the power of Black Larry, the Black Library. What I need to know from both of you: what would you change? What lore would you shift? And it has to be major. It cannot be minor. Major lore, big.
Define big.
As big, we're gonna say as big as Primarch stays loyal or goes traitor. That's a generic one. That's a generic take, but like we're talking like that level of impact.
Okay, so something properly huge. I mean, there's part of me that would like to say, like, the whole interaction in the Fury of Magnus novel about, I know I don't want to get too far into Siege of Terra stuff, but in Fury of Magnus, Magnus is offered a new legion in return for renouncing the Thousand Suns and turning loyalist. And he says no. Part of me, given how shattered Magnus is, I would kind of, and I know this might sound stupid, so shut me out in a minute, is have Traitor Magnus, Demon Magnus, all that stuff, and the Thousand Suns, don't get rid of them because it's a really interesting story. But I would really be interested to see there be a loyal shard of Magnus that maybe wasn't a Primarch tier, that was maybe only like the power of a chapter master or something like that, who did turn back, maybe who became who was actually Janus. Forget Revulavida a second or whatever. Like, let Janus be just a loyalist shard of Magnus or something. I'd like that. I think that could be really interesting to see that dichotomy between the two. But I get the feeling that's probably not drastic enough for your purposes.
No. We need proper major. Come on.
Cadia doesn't blow up. Fine.
Sorry,
Cadia doesn't blow up. Cadia stands.
Oh,
have
okay.
the Cicatrix Maledictum happen. Have the pylons break. And all that. But have Cadia stand. So that you still have that one bastion. It's still going through hell and all of that. But have Cadia stand.
I would have killed Dante off during the devastation of Baal.
Yeah,
Really?
I would be. Yeah. I think that would have been a really cool twist as well. I like that.
You would have made him. Do you want to make his death even more important though? Have him duel the Swarmlord over Sanguinius's body.
Sanguinius's body is crystallized on Horus's ship.
No, it's a soul. His
soul.
His body is entombed within like the Angelus Arcanum or something.
Yeah. The Arx Angelicum, yeah.
The Swarmlord is the only Tyranid that breaks through all the way down to Sanguinius's tomb, and Dante's the only Marine there. Every other Blood Angel and Blood Angel Descendant chapter is holding off the rest of the Tyranids in the halls of the fortress, right? And Dante is there standing over the body of his Primarch, and he just has this incredible duel with the Swarm Lord. Oh, I like that. That would be cool, because then it would really kind of tie into the whole prophecy thing where he defends the golden thing and kind of implies that maybe Sanguinius is going to come back, and that was like Dante's purpose or whatever, to protect Sanguinius.
Yeah, the challenge I see that, and there's only one minor thing, is if Dante's going to die, he's got to take the Swarm Lord down with him. We just need to make that clear, because otherwise Sanguinius' body's going to get nommed.
No, of course. It would be a whole, he kills the Swarm Lord, beheading it, and, with the psychic death rattle, the Swarm Lord falls over, yada, yada, yada. Adjectives, descriptors, and the Black Library bag of words describing basically George R. Martin with food.
I really wish I'd thought of that.
Yeah, like George R. Black Library writers do with gore, bloodshed, and violence what George R. Martin does with food. Anyway, have all that thrown on the page, but then, then he's just like, oh, I'm fucking dying, and then Sanguinius talks to him, and then he dies.
Yeah, because, that's basically what happens, except he just gets up again at the end in the Devastation of Baal. It happens out on the field, he's in the midst of the Black Rage, and he gets up again at the end. Just. It is, to be honest, the Devastation of Baal, the ending of the Devastation of Baal nearly made me cry. I'm not kidding. So I get the feeling that would have reduced many a person to tears had they done that correctly. I really like that one. Killing Dante would have been really good.
Ooh, that would be really good. All right.
Yeah, I'll give you that one, Rem. Well done.
All right. What about you? What is your revised major impact?
Well, I want to retcon the War of the Beast out of existence just because it's so stupid.
No, you don't.
I kind of do.
The orcs showed up. Everybody died, but then they weren't dead, and then the orcs died, and then where did the orcs go? We don't know.
It's so stupid. And
then Vulcan came back, and it was crazy.
Talking moons. Like a moon with an orc's face that moved and talked. What the actual frick?
That's actually really funny. It's just an old Krork. His tiny little body, huge head.
It's Orky and the brain.
You're gonna say, come on, be more original with this, but I would bring Dorn back during the.
Why am I not surprised? Why am I surprised that Dorn would bring Dorn back?
Just after the Plague Wars, I would like to see Dorn come back, because the thing is, we have. How many Trader Primarchs currently walking around and shitting all over the place?
6.
3 in model form.
Yeah, 3 in model form, and we got how many Loyalist Primarchs walking around trying to clean up the shit?
1.
Yeah, exactly. And your best options, quite frankly, are Dorn coming back, because did he die? We don't know. Don't look behind the curtain.
Primarch.
Yeah, and
he's dead and alive at the same time.
Don't open the box. He's Schrodinger's Primarch. And then there's the Lion, but if the Lion comes back, everybody expects him to be like egregiously pedantic and critical of Guilliman.
Well, that's his job. He is egregious and pedantic. That's him in a nutshell.
Well, okay, but maybe he can come back and he'll blow everyone away by showing massive character growth after having his own shitbox pushed in by, the whole, Traitor Dark Angels thing, because he realized, maybe I don't know everything. Maybe I'm not the greatest tactical genius or strategic genius in the galaxy.
It's like expecting humility from the Lion.
The other option for Primarchs coming back is Feral Russ, which I'd really like to see Feral Russ back, like Wolfen Russ.
Or Jagatai.
Jagatai, maybe.
He's one with the Speed Force. His real name's now Barry Allen.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I think what's interesting is that all of these big seismic shifts that we talk about, as you describe, all seem to revolve around characters either being killed off that really need to die or coming back that shouldn't have died in the first place. And that's quite telling of Black Library and GW's general policies. If it has a model, it should not be dead. And I know Tycho is there, I know. But in general, if a model... I know. But major characters do not die. Even when there are massive time jumps that should kill them, they don't die. And they should. They should be a bit more willing to say, actually, no, they died. Marnius Calgar should have died to Abaddon.
Oh, no, yeah, no, that was actually my other one. Sorry. Just in that line of thinking, I think Abaddon should have died in that fight.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sell it.
100%.
Sell me on it.
The only reason Abaddon didn't die is because Guilliman fucking slipped on a stair. That's it.
Oh, that's a different fight. Sorry, I'm thinking of the one much later. Sorry, wrong fight.
No, Marnius Calgar, because he slipped, Abaddon stabs him through one of his hearts. Because the stair literally gave out from under him. Oh, if I remember that story correctly.
I had it in my head, and I'm going to be wrong, that Abaddon had Calgar banged to rights, but the Vengeful Spirit came under attack.
No, Calgar was whipping the fucking piss out of Abaddon, if I remember that story correctly. I shouldn't say that, because, it was obviously a very close fight between the two of them, but Calgar was...
And then they died.
Yeah, and then Calgar stepped on...
they didn't.
Poor maintenance was the Ultramarine Chapter Master's downfall.
Yeah, and Ragnar killing Ghazghkull but not, and Ghazghkull killing... Ghazghkull got Ragnar Blackmane in his power claw and crushed him to death. And while crushing Ragnar to death, Ragnar had enough strength to fucking decapitate Ghazghkull, and yet neither of them are now dead.
Well, yeah,
Ragnar got Primaris, and Ghazghkull just got a new body with a head sewn on it.
Well, remember, the lore is, Ghazghkull's head was put on a bigger orc's body. So there was a bigger orc than Ghazghkull.
It was a super orc that had been surgically crafted by Grotsnik, but yes.
They did actually explain that in the Ghazghkull novel, that before they sewed Ghazghkull's head back on, Grotsnik had actually extensively modified the body.
Yeah, I know.
Lengthening the bones and shit like that, so...
Oh yeah, absolutely. Take nothing away from Grotsnik's work, but all these major characters should have died. Celestine should have died on Cadia, but didn't.
Going back to the Ghazghkull thing, that should have been where Ragnar should have been killed off completely, not brought back. He did technically die and was revived as a Primaris, but I think that's such a cheap cop-out. He should have just been killed off permanently then.
Yeah, Ragnar should be dead. Abaddon should be dead. Calgar should be dead. He literally fought an entire army of orcs on his own without dying. What the actual hells is that? Never mind anything else. Celestine, I know she's technically a demon of sorts, but she should have died on Cadia.
She dies and gets reborn all the time. In her novel, she dies to a fucking demon boiler.
Well, that too, yeah, fair point.
Not as a demon that boils. An actual boiler you find in your house that's been possessed by a demon.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
How?
Because it kills her.
How?
It's a demon. It's a demon. That's what you need to know. Literally, that novel shows all the past ways a whole bunch of past ways she dies, and one of them she dies from being cut in half by a door.
Okay, well, let's carry on this trend then. Since we're here, last thing before we wrap up, we've just croaked 2 hours. Characters that should be dead but aren't because of plot contrivances.
All of them.
We've already
Yeah, all of them. Just cut and dry. Dust your hands, you're done.
Yeah, because everyone who shouldn't have died due to plot, who should have died due to plot convenience, or who hasn't been in that position, has been branded as a Mary Sue. I'm looking at you, Kata Sicarius. But... yeah, it's if you haven't got out of jail due to plot convenience, then how are you even a 40k protagonist? Grimaldus, there's another one. But yeah, be more willing to kill off established characters.
I mean, obviously, you don't need to kill off a brand new character every edition or anything like that. You know, no one's asking you to do that. But it's like, do you remember back in 3rd edition when they did that original Eye of Terror campaign and they killed off Eldrad Ulthran?
I was 3. I do know about the campaign, but I was 3, so no, I don't remember it.
When they killed off Eldrad Ulthran, and then they retconned and saying, actually, no, he's alive.
Yeah, that was another great example.
It was an illusion this whole time. Woo!
Yeah. Vulcan, there's another one who should have probably not have been alive as long as he was, and then they finally had the nuts to kill him off, but did they really? So, yeah.
Depends who's writing the book.
Indeed.
And on that bombshell, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of this episode of Adeptus Podcastus. So thank you very much for joining us this episode. We hope you enjoyed it, especially with the revelations from the Dorn novel. And thank you to Rogal Dorn himself, Superanchors, for joining us this episode.
It was a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
Glad to have you.
So until next time, this has been Remleiz from 40k Theories.
This has been Neve from Tactica Imperialis.
And this has been Superanchors as the lovable guest for the 3rd time, I think?
I think so, yeah.
I think so, yeah.
But regardless, we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.